It's 3 a.m. You're in bed, lights off an hour ago, and your head is wide awake. There's a problem up there. One problem. You've turned it over so many times you could recite it. You've replayed the conversation, rehearsed the one you're gonna have, argued both sides, built a plan, torn it up, built a better one, and one quiet feeling keeps you going. This is helping. I'm almost there. One more lap, and it'll click. How long was your last one? An hour? 3? Your brain didn't keep count either. It feels like work. It feels like you're getting somewhere. You've solved nothing, and you've never worked harder. The more you think about a problem, the harder it gets to solve. Not because you're bad at thinking, because your brain is being paid to keep going, and it doesn't get paid for the answer. Stay with me. By the end, you'll know exactly why you can't stop, and why just stop overthinking has never once worked. Back to that bed. You know this scene without me describing it. The problem could be anything. A text you sent, a job decision, something a friend said that landed wrong. You're doing the responsible thing, thinking it through, one angle, then another. You picture the worst version, then you talk yourself down. 10 minutes later, you picture it again. By now, you've reorganized an argument you're never going to have. Out loud, in your head, to a person who is fast asleep. So, why can't you stop? Back in 1991, a Yale psychologist named Susan Nolen-Hoeksema spent decades studying people who loop like this, and she found something almost mechanical. When you dwell on a problem this way, your brain never sends itself one signal, the done signal. There's no finish line it can feel. Think about hunger. You eat, and a chemical eventually says, enough, stop. Thinking has no version of that. You can chew on the same worry for 4 hours, and your brain never gets the memo that the meeting's over. She had a name for this. Brooding. Passive, repetitive dwelling that circles the problem without moving toward a way out. The useful kind turns inward and understands something. Brooding spins. Same posture. Opposite result. High brooding people took 7 weeks to recover from a setback that low brooding people shook in 3. At 3 a.m., it's almost always the spinning. But that raises a harder question. Fine, no stop signal. So why would a brain keep running a lap that goes nowhere? Because it's being rewarded for it. Read that. Your brain is being paid not to stop. Your brain runs on dopamine. Most people think dopamine is the "you won" chemical, the reward for finally solving the thing. It isn't. Dopamine fires for the chase, for the act of pursuing. It goes off while you're analyzing, hunting for the pattern, not when you land the answer. Your brain pays you for the pacing, not the arrival. So every lap gives you a little hit, a tiny, ooh, getting warmer, and your brain, being a good little slot machine, pulls the lever again. That's the trap. The reward is wired to the thinking, not to the answer. The loop feeds itself. It doesn't need a solution. It needs a lever. There's a name for the feeling this creates. The illusion of mental progress. Thinking feels like working. The gears are turning, so it must be building towards something. It isn't. You're winning a game with no finish line. So if more thinking gets rewarded but solves nothing, does it ever help? That raises the obvious question. A researcher named Dijksterhuis gave people a hard decision, then distracted half with a puzzle while the other half deliberated. The distracted group chose better. Sit with that. The people who did not agonize beat the people who did. It's not proof never to think. There's real debate. But on the tangled problems, grinding harder is not the tool you think it is. And the grinding has a cost. Roy Baumeister found that the more you weigh options, the worse your later choices get. The marathon in bed isn't free. You're spending tomorrow's judgment on a problem you won't even solve. Which is why just stop overthinking is useless advice. You cannot outthink a loop. Thinking is the fuel. Telling a brooding brain to stop by thinking is like telling a fire to put itself out with more wood. So what actually works? Not stopping the thought. You can't. The exit is changing what you do with it. You don't argue the loop into silence. You bore it. You name it plainly. This is my brain running a lap, not solving anything. The second you call the loop a loop, you step half an inch outside it. The pull gets weaker. The thing I want you to keep. You are the person who stayed up until 3 a.m. trying to get it right, not weakness. Your brain has no off switch for this. Chemistry, not a character flaw. Every night you've called yourself an overthinker, you were describing biology. The loop was never going to hand you a finish line. There was never one wired in. So go back to that bed, 3 a.m., the same problem turning over your head, the same warm little lie that one more lap will crack it. Nothing up there is broken. It's a machine, pacing a track with no end, waiting for someone to turn off the lights. Tonight, you can. If this one landed, watch 5 things you do alone. Same quiet room, different thing your brain is doing in it.